But we got actual playoff games happening. We had a good one last night between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. We're now tied at 2 apiece. Woohoo! Jokic. Man, 35 points. 16 of those came in the fourth. 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Jamal Murray had 19. Aaron Gordon with the night, 27 points. He was 11 of 12 from the field. And Anthony Edwards did everything he could. Career best, playoff career, 44 points. We got a Rudy Tubjanovich quote after this one from Mike Malone, which I appreciate. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. And it felt like maybe we all did do that when it was 2-0 and they won both those games on the road, Minnesota did. That being said, now that we're tied, how are we feeling, Chandler? Do things change completely in your mind?
Yeah, they do. And we were joking around the studio about, damn, we looked really at looking at a possible sweep here. And then me and Lou even said, if they get game 3, all that pressure goes back to Minnesota. And now the fact that they went in there into their home, they got both. It's way more important winning 3 and 4 than winning 1 and 2. So I don't care what they're saying about no momentum. The confidence hasn't shifted. It has. When a team comes into your building fresh in your mind and punches you in the mouth in front of your home crowd, it changes, especially when it's defending champs, especially when it's the best player in the NBA, and especially it's a team that knows how to win and usually is very, very good at home. So when you look at this kind of breakdown of the series, we were very, very, very surprised at games 1 and 2. We weren't that surprised in games 3 and 4. So now I think just going back to game 5, I think it's huge in the Nuggets' favor. I think they're going to obviously be a lot better than they were in games 1 and 2. And again, the momentum has definitely shifted their way. They've seemed to figure things out. Jokic is starting to kind of, develop more of his offensive rhythm in this series. Aaron Gordon has been absolutely fantastic. And Jamal Murray's kind of been up and down as well, but he's hitting some big shots, making some big plays. But yeah, it's hard not to just shift all your confidence back to Denver after what they did in their building 2 times in a row, going back home. That's tough to overcome.
Jokic said that Gordon was the best player on the floor last night, Lou. I do love a team where, we know who the 2 stars are on most of these teams, and then somebody on any given night steps up. What'd you see in Aaron Gordon last night?
Played his role well. Went 10 for 10 before he missed a shot, if I'm not mistaken. He's played his role well. You got to think from his Orlando days, they asked him to do all the heavy lifting. He doesn't have to do that in Denver. He's the 3rd option. Only thing he has to do is his job, and he's been able to do that. He has one of the best passers. This is hilarious. Listen, great. and you should be, Errors. You should be. But, with the impact that he's been able to have off the back of Jamal Murray and Jokic, he's always in the right spot. He knows when to cut. He knows when to shoot. It's a perfect mix. One thing that we're not mentioning, the difference in this series from the first 2 games and to where they are now with the series being tied, we hadn't mentioned Jamal Murray's calf, right? Games 3 and 4, I think he's gotten back into form. His calf is giving him an opportunity to get his rhythm back. You can see he's flowing. Even though he didn't have an explosive scoring night, he was a facilitator. He was making plays. He was a playmaker last night, and that's exactly what that team needed. I think that's the glaring difference between the first 2 games and the last 2 games. Jamal Murray getting an opportunity to get healthy. They got that long 3 or 4 day break, and, he's back on his feet, and he's balling for him, and that's changed this series.
And also, nice. Lou, we can't be sitting here talking about Aaron Gordon. Like Karl-Anthony Towns has got to be better. Karl-Anthony Towns has the potential to be a number 1 option. He's a multiple-year All-Star. He's got to offset or at least play better than Aaron Gordon. When you look at this series, there's no way Aaron Gordon should be winning this matchup. Yes, he's a great role player. Yes, he's playing with Jokic. Jokic had some insane passes to him that led to easy dunks. But I'm looking at these matchups across the board here, and Towns can't go 5 for 18 while Aaron Gordon's missing 1 shot, getting spoon-fed all these layups. Towns has got to stay out of foul trouble. He's got to take better shots, but he's got to be more aggressive. He's kind of like their Anthony Davis, where I know the skill is there. I know the production is there. So when we don't get it, and we have a night where he has 13 points and goes 5 of 18, it boggles my mind that he's not that, that second option that's dominating, that's asking for the ball, that he's the one creating double teams. It can't just be, Anthony Edwards going off, having career highs, and then everything else. It's got to be more of balance, and it starts with Karl-Anthony Towns. He should be winning that matchup against Aaron Gordon, and he's not.
And knowing how Anthony Edwards is... Go ahead. Sorry.
My bad. I thought he was aggressive. I just didn't think he made a shot, right? Even down that stretch when they were trying to make a run and Ant-Man was doing his thing, Cat was still taking those shots. He was still putting his back to the basket, squaring up, facing up, even taking his three-pointers. He was just inefficient. And like you said, he just has to play better. I don't think he has to be more aggressive. He just has to play better. He got to turn a 5-18 night into 11 for 18 night, and that'll set off the Aaron Gordon matchup. But until then, this is going to be a tough one, man. And Anthony Edwards thinking that the momentum hasn't switched. I think this is the first quote I've heard from Ant-Man that I disagree with this entire postseason. If he's trying to do a Jedi mind trick and keep his guys engaged for the rest of this series, then cool. But he knows, like I know, like the world know, this thing has shifted back in Denver's favor.
Yes, it has, Shams. At least it looks like. What a wonky series. Nobody can win at home. What'd you see?
I thought the adjustment that the Nuggets made, putting the ball in Aaron Gordon's hand, and you saw the way he was able to bring Rudy Gobert out of the paint and bring the other big men out of the paint. I thought that was a big change. And shout out Aaron Gordon. I know we talked about Chandler just hit on Karl-Anthony Towns, his lack of production last night, but third player in NBA history to have 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 90% shooting in an NBA playoff game. The way that he performed, he brought it on both ends of the floor, and then being able to have the ball in his hands, the shots he hit, I think Rudy Gobert said he turned into Kobe Bryant. I mean, that's an interesting comparison, of course. But they made adjustments. Jamal Murray, you're seeing him continue to get healthy, playing more explosively. But Aaron Gordon, obviously, the complete X factor. And if he plays like this, Denver obviously is in pole position.
Yeah, there was a fun exchange at the end of this one between Ant and Jamal Murray. Here's Ant talking about that.
Anthony, did you have any words with Jamal or any of the Nuggets at the end of the game there? Looked like you might have
yeah. I just told his ass, that's what we love that. Keep talking that. That's what we like. Well, I love it, So, he ain't say nothing back, but I'm pretty sure he heard me. They heard me. Yeah, we live for that.
I just think he's the best.
He's the best. He's the absolute best.
He's like the most. I wish there was somebody on that team that was just a little bit like closer to him personality-wise. I mean, I know I'm asking a lot there since he's kind of a special dude, but maybe he is doing Jedi mind tricks, Lou. I mean, you kind of have to be the face of the positivity movement, right? If you're him.
Yeah, and you know what else? He's so young, and these are his first experiences. Like, he's a little naive to how this works, and that's gonna work in his favor. For him to not understand what it takes to win playoff series after playoff series, and him having this blind confidence, sometimes you need that as a basketball team. You need your leader to be like, I don't care what happened. Listen, I'm falling on deaf ears. I'm not reading the room. I don't care. We're still in good shape. That's great leadership right there. It can kind of look crazy at times. When you lose a game and you're talking the trash, it can kind of look crazy. When you lose 2 in a row and you think that the momentum hasn't switched, you can kind of look crazy. And like I said, sometimes when you don't understand what's going on, that can work in your favor. So I'm cool with it. I love it.
The craziest thing to me that he does, obviously his game on the court is insane, the way he's a two-way player, but just how he carries himself at 22 years old with the media, with how he doesn't blame, anybody, the coaching staff, the adjustments, the referees. He just owns up to everything. He's so mature. He's wise, well above his years. So I like this. Like Lou said, maybe it's a little bit of ignorance is bliss here, and he's never been there, so he doesn't know how serious this is. And he's definitely wrong on the momentum part, that it is all back in Denver. But as a team and as a leader, he's going in there. Look, we just beat these dudes twice in their building. Why would we be nervous? Why do they have the momentum? But if history repeats itself, we're going to win game 5, and now we just have to take care of business at home game 6. So I can't say enough how well he just carries himself, and how at 22 years old, I mean, it's super impressive.
It's fun to watch. The end of the first half last night, I thought I blacked out or just something weird was happening, because it was just sloppy on the part of Minnesota. So much so, in fact, that they allowed the Nuggets to score 8 points in a matter of 20 seconds, not even. And then the final margin ended up being 8 points. I mean, look, I'm not a coach, Chandler, but I'd imagine if you're a coach of any level of basketball, you're going to use this as an example of play through the end here. What happened?
Yeah, you got to just close out quarters. You got to close out halves. This is when the momentum changed. If they doesn't think they have the momentum, it started right here at the end of the second half. Because when you play sloppy like this, it's classic. Like when you're a player and you don't box out, right? And you just like the ball is going to bounce to your guy, and you're not going to get rewarded for not boxing out. You have to do your job. You have to clean up things. And they got really sloppy here. They gave up a wide open three, forced a horrible turnover to a transition dunk. And that's where you got to stop the bleeding, right? Just inbounds the ball, let the clock go out. They tried to get a little greedy there. And again, Murray hit a half court shot, but that is where kind of everything shifted. It went from single digits to almost a blowout basically at halftime in a matter of 8 seconds. So that's something that you can't afford. We talk about the playoffs basketball and intensity, and every possession matters. These were 3 possessions in a 20-second span that basically put the game out of reach for them in the first half. So you can't do that. You can't do this at any part of the game, but this is, Coach Finch is walking in that locker room, not talking about anything else until he talks about those last 3 possessions. So you can't do that, in a tight series like this when you have the lead. That's when you got to step on the gas. That's when you got to be mature. You got to take care of the ball and not allow them to basically put this game out of reach in the first half.
It was ugly, Lou. Lou's a coach, so I'd imagine you're using this.
Yeah, and that's where your youth comes into play, right? That's where we kind of put that hat back on them, because right here at the end of that half, like Chandler mentioned, you give up that 3, you turn the basketball over. You're not going to get those plays back. Don't compact mistakes. Once you make a mistake, let the clock roll out. Let's get a fresh start at the top of the half. Instead, you throw a full court pass to Anthony Edwards that's not even looking, not even expecting the basketball, and you give up a Hail Mary 3, and now your confidence kind of wavers now because you're giving up so many big plays. It's a confidence booster for the Denver Nuggets, and now you're looking at a completely different scenario going into the half. And so that's where they got to tighten up at. That's where the inexperience comes into play. Hopefully they'll be better in Game 5 in Denver, but we'll see.
We will see indeed. We're gonna. Oh, by the way, Chandler, I hit the first basket in the second half thing last night with Jamal Murray. First time I got one of those, guys. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back,
Took all season.
Bilal Coulibaly. Yeah, it took all season. There he is.